Hey, Shalom. Yabashim Yashabra. Thumb, Yahal Shemal Bashim Yashai. This is I.S.U.P.K. Indianapolis. This is a Friday, Lashawan Qadash, the ancient Hebrew class. Also, the Patazah holding it down for tonight's class. We're going to go over some basics again today, like we always start off with. For new people joining the class, we're going to start off with the alphabet, obviously, and then we're going to get into some basic words, right? So we got a list of like common words that you may use for, in your everyday life. So we want to start applying those same words in Hebrew. The only way to get better at a language, obviously, is to practice the language. So when you, just like when you were a kid, you practiced English, you learned how to say certain words. And once you learn how to say those words, you kind of ask for the meanings of other words, and you kept adding on to your vocabulary. So Hebrew, you want to learn this language the same way. You want to practice. You want to start using these common words in your everyday language. And the more we use these words, the more fluent we become in the language that we're trying to learn. So that's what today's. Anytime you see a Friday class, for the most part, in the Israelite School Universe of Practical Knowledge, the class is going to be a Hebrew class. So all of Israel can learn how to read and write ancient Hebrew. You understand? So any questions you got, you go ahead and post them in the chat. I'm gonna try to monitor the Facebook and the YouTube. So let me know if there's any questions. If there's no questions, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. And like I said, we're gonna start off with the Hebrew alphabet. All right, so let's get started. All right. Hey, Shalom. Yabashim Yashabrakatah to the Edomite Slayer. I thought I sent that sheet to your email address. I'm gonna do it immediately after class so I don't forget again. So, all right. So let's start off with the ancient Hebrew alphabet. All right. So this is the I. This is the Ba. Try to keep them lined up for you. That's the Ba. Try to stand to the side. That's the Ga. That's the Ga. All right. That's the Ha. That's the Wa. That's the Za. That's the Ka. That's the Ta. That's the Ya. That's the Ka. That's the La. Actually, I'm gonna leave some space, and then we'll come back right up under it, and then we'll do the Assyrian under the ancient Hebrew. So I'm gonna drop down a little bit to finish out the rest of the letters. So our whiteboard isn't as big as some of these other schools. We probably gonna have to invest in a bigger whiteboard so we get all the letters across. All right. This is the Ma. Should probably start over a little bit more. That's the Ma. That's the Na. That's the Sa. That's the I. The Pa. That's the Taza. That's the Kwa. That's the Ra. That's the Sha. And that's the Ta. So for anybody watching online and you can't, you can't be in a physical class, what you want to try to do is follow along, right? You want to follow along, and then you want to go through the alphabet, right? So Hebrew is written from right to left, unlike a lot of your languages today is written from left to right. Hebrew is written from right to left. So you want to make sure if you can't be in a physical class, you want to follow along online. All right. So go through it. Abba, ga, da, ha, waza, ka, ta, ya, ka, la, mana, sa, I, pa, taza, kwa, ra, sha, ta. Right? Those are 22 letters. Those 22 letters make up the Hebrew language alphabet, right? There's no vowels in ancient Hebrew. So a lot of times you'll see people, they'll say shalom and they got an O in there, you know what I mean? And they get the O, you look it up, it say shalom and all that stuff. So a lot of people, when they first start learning about, being an Israelite, they say shalom or they say shalom, which comes from, shalom, that comes from the Jewish man, right? He adds consonants to his Hebrew, or Salaki. He adds vowels to his Hebrew. Well, ancient Hebrew, there are no vowels, right? There's only consonants, and these are the letters that make up the alphabet. All right. So that's the ancient. Now let's do the Assyrian. So if you're not familiar with Hebrew at all, ancient Hebrew is what you find, in like the ancient text. What you find in today's is what we're getting ready to write out. It's the bastardization of our alphabet once we went into the Assyrian captivity, right? And so for whatever reason, we bastardized our language, and we ended up with a variation of ancient Hebrew, right? So it's a variation of this here, and for a lot of brothers, it's more difficult because there's a few tricks to it, and we're gonna go over it real quick, right? So let's go ahead and get into the Assyrian. All right. So the Assyrian I. That ain't good enough. That's the Assyrian I. All right. You got your bathroom? Yeah. All right. That's the Assyrian I. This is the Ba. This is the Ga. This is the Da. Notice the little, the little bit hanging off on the end on the Da. The reason I call that out is because when we get to the Ra looks like this. So the Ra looks the same, except there's no, nothing hanging off the back of it. But the Da does have like a little lip hanging off the back. Just wanted to point that out as a slight variation between those two. Right? So the next is the Ha. That's the Ha. Now I'm going to jump ahead because I always like to call this out when people are learning Hebrew. When you read it, like when you write it, it's going to look different. But when you reading it in like your Tanakhs, right, the way it's printed in the Tanakhs nowadays is going to look similar. Like this Da, like I pointed out, this Da and this Ra, you'll confuse it if you don't look at the slight variations. All right. So let's go ahead. I'm gonna jump ahead and I'm gonna show you the Ka or the Ka, right? The Ka looks like this. All right, slight variation from the Ha. The Ha comes over and down, is all connected. And then there's a space, and then you get another line straight down. Well, the Ka looks more like a pi symbol, like your math 3.421. That looks more like that pi sign. Okay. And lastly, your Tha. Your Tha looks similar in the printed text as well to these other two. So you can easily confuse them if you're not paying attention. So this is what the Tha looks like in Assyrian. All right, so again, it's another subtle change. It's like damn near a squiggly line, with the Tha. Right? So this is the Ha, the Ka, and the Tha. Those three letters in the printed text will look quite similar. So again, it's something to look out for. Now let's continue on with the rest, right? This is the Wa. This is the Za. This is the Ta. This is the Ya. Notice the Ya is much smaller. It's about half the size of all the letters, right? And here's the other Ka. Don't confuse the sound. Well, they make almost the same sound, but not quite. This is Ka with more emphasis on the, it's kind of like it's more throaty. And this is just the Ka, right? So the Ka looks like this. All right, that's the Ka. Now, in Assyrian Hebrew, there's 5 letters where if it's at the end of the letter, it looks different when it's in between other letters, right? The Ka is an example of one that looks different if it's at the end of the letter. All right, and so at the end, the Ka is a little longer. So notice the Da, right? It looks different from the Da, which looks slightly different from the Ra, but you might confuse the Ra and the Ka in the Syrian. So again, like I said before we start doing the alphabet, a lot of brothers don't prefer the Assyrian because of these small variations. Like clearly in the ancient Hebrew, you can tell which letters is which, right? Abba, Ga, Da, Ha, Waza, Ka. Like they all look different, right? But in the Syrian, if you don't pay attention to the subtle differences when you're reading the Hebrew text, you'll get jammed up. Like you'll confuse the Ra with the Ka, but notice the Ka is longer at the end. So that's only when the Ka is at the end of a word, at the end of a word. If it's in between two letters, it looks like this. If it's at the end, it looks like that. So that's the Ka. Brother got a question. Is the middle one fake Jew one? When you say middle one, I'm assuming you're talking about the Assyrian Hebrew, right? The Assyrian Hebrew comes from our captivity in Assyria, right? When we went into captivity, we bastardized our language for whatever reason, right? And so we came up with a whole nother set of alphabet, right? And we ended up with this Assyrian. So on the top, we got ancient and then the same letters in Assyrian. And here we got ancient. And then on the bottom, I'm going to finish out with the Assyrian. So hopefully that answers your question. All right. Any questions, let me know. All right. We're just going over the alphabet right now and talking about the subtle differences that you're going to find once you start getting to the Assyrian. So a lot of people, especially, you know what I'm saying, young officers, when you get ready, you know what I'm saying, somebody deem you worthy and give you that officer's test, the Assyrian Hebrew is what jams a lot of people up, because to be an officer in the Israelite School Universal Practical Knowledge, you have to read and write ancient Hebrew and Assyrian Hebrew, right? Now, don't get me wrong. Some brothers are stronger than other brothers. Nobody said you got to be a scholar at it and, you know, teach a Hebrew class for all of Israel. But you do have to recognize, because there's going to be, it's just going to add to your understanding of the word too, right? We got another question. So if the ancient one is better and easier, why don't we just use that? The reason we have you learn the Assyrian Hebrew, one, is because you should be well-rounded, right? Like you should understand, you know, there's even another level, right? Before the letters, there was pictures, right? And if you're diligent and you want to learn, you can go back and you can even learn the pictures, the alphabet pictures that we learned, that we started off with, right? So the language was an evolution from pictures to actual letters, right? Hebrew being the first language. Now, the reason why we just don't use the ancient Hebrew is because, like I said earlier, most of your text that you read today is going to use the Assyrian alphabet, right? So you'll rarely find anything in ancient Hebrew, written in ancient Hebrew. So you can look up certain artifacts that they find. Those artifacts will more than likely be in ancient Hebrew. But for instance, you get a Tanakh, you know what I mean, and you're trying to read Hebrew in Sabbath service, you're not going to find a Hebrew, a Tanakh written in ancient Hebrew. It's going to be written in Assyrian. And so that's why you have to learn which letters make what sounds and what letters go with, the Assyrian, right? Because when you're reading, you're going to see these letters. But when you're speaking it, you know, you have these rules in mind. You know what I mean? The same thing. That's why I said we putting the sounds under each, so you know exactly what you need to say when you read that letter, right? Let me see if I can find a copy of a Tanakh in here real quick, and then I'll put it to the camera just so you can see. All right. I don't think I brought one with me. I don't think I did, but I do have a Hebrew dictionary, right? And I'm gonna put it up to the camera just so you can see. Let's pick a word, any word. Let's see. We're going to pick a word, and I'm going to show you why you have to learn the Assyrian, right? Let's see. All right, so we're going to look at the word abandon. Like I said, I'm going to put it really close to the screen so you can see it. Let me know if you can't see it, and I'll try to adjust it. All right. The word is, let the camera focus 1 second. Salakia. If it focuses, it may not focus. Try to get it so it focuses. Is it focusing? It don't look like it's focusing. Okay, there you go. It's starting to focus a little bit. Look at the letters in there, right? Those letters, that's in Assyrian Hebrew, right? Just pick any of those letters that's written in Hebrew. Those are all in Assyrian. All right. Was you able to see that, Edomite Slayer? Type in if you was able, if it focused for you for a second. I know it took a little minute to focus. Let me know if you was able to see that. If not, I'll try to put it up there again. Okay, Most High in Christ. You was able to see that. So that's why you want to learn them both. Because when you're reading in any text today, right? Even if you pull up your blue letter Bible, I don't know if you've been in class, but I was showing brothers and sisters how to use the blue letter Bible. Even when you read the blue letter Bible and you're trying to look at, ancient Hebrew, there's no ancient Hebrew in there. It's only the Assyrian Hebrew. So in order to understand what it's saying in ancient Hebrew, you have to read it in Assyrian, right? So anyway, hopefully that answers your question. Let's keep going. Please teach me how to use the blue letter Bible. Okay, no sweat. We'll save a few minutes and we'll use the blue letter Bible real quick. Now, I don't have like screen sharing, so what I do is I usually put the phone real close so you can see it. We'll spend a few minutes and we'll try to get you set up with the blue letter Bible. But it's important, right? Because if you use the blue letter Bible, it helps you, okay, say for instance, you wanted to look up a Hebrew word. You wanted to look up a word, you wanted to look up the word brother, right? And we'll do that. That's the example we'll use for the blue letter Bible, because you see a lot of these fake cats out here. What they say when you look at them on Facebook, they be like, "What's up, Aki?" and all this. You like, Aki? Where that come from? Where they do that at? You know what I'm saying? That's one of the things that you see on Facebook is Aki, and I'm trying to figure out where is they getting that from, because when I read it, I see Ak, like we say in the Israelite school, Universal Practical Knowledge. Hey, what's up, Ak? Shalom, Ak. What's going on? Or if it's you're talking to multiple brothers, what's up, Akim? Once you add the yum on the end, that makes it plural, right? So you go from Ak to Akim. So anyway, we'll look that up. We'll spend a few minutes on that and break that down with the blue letter Bible, and we'll actually look up the word Ak, and we'll see why these fools on Facebook is saying Aki. And I don't understand it. Just like, they looking up the Most High's name and they say Yeshua. I'm like, where you get that from? Because that's not what you find in the Bible when you read it. You look it up and it's going to say Yahushua. So anyway, we're going to look up Ak in the blue letter Bible and we'll get you set up. So if you don't have it downloaded already, go ahead and download just a little jab. If you got an Android, I don't know how it works because Android is trash, but that's a whole nother argument between the brothers in the school. So I got an iPhone. Go ahead and download it, and then by the time we get to it, you'll be all downloaded and ready. All right, so let's wrap up the ancient and Assyrian. So again, we on the Assyrian now. We know why we got to learn it. We know where it came from. So this is us just practicing it. So the Ka, that's the first one that says, okay, when I'm at the end of the word, I look different. And again, not to be confused with the Ra. It's longer than a Ra, and it doesn't have a lip on the end like the Da. Okay. So then it's the La. The La is the next word. The La looks like this. That's probably good enough. I'm gonna change it a little bit. It ain't as good as I want it. All right, so that's the La. That's what it looks like. Now, here's another one. The next letter is the Ma. When the Ma is at the end of the word, it looks different. So this is Assyrian right here. And I'm gonna try my best, but it's written. You'll be able to see it if you paying attention in the text. When you're writing it out, it's a little bit more difficult to write it differently. All right, so that would be the Ma in Assyrian when it's in between letters. Right? But when it's at the end of a word, then it looks like this. And that's the Ma. So notice the slight variation, right? When it's in the middle, in between two words, this side hooks in a little bit more. When it's at the end of the word, it's a little bit more rounded. Okay? That's the best way I can explain it. It's going to take a little practice, right? It's going to take a little practice. Get you a Tanakh. If you haven't got a Tanakh yet, get you a Tanakh. Or like I said, you could definitely use the Blue Letter Bible if you want to start practicing your Hebrew. The good thing about the Blue Letter Bible, the thing that I like about it, is that you can put English and Hebrew side by side. And so you can kind of go back and forth and you can say, oh, this word means this because that's what it meant in the scriptures. Or you can see names and then you can help sound out names by looking at them side by side. That's why I prefer the Blue Letter Bible. Some people like the Meccan Mamre, right? It's another tool that you can use to read ancient Hebrew or Assyrian Hebrew. I don't like it. I like the Blue Letter Bible. Also, the Blue Letter Bible has a concordance in it. So, like I said, we'll try to get to it. We'll save a few minutes, and we can get to it a little bit later. All right. So that's the Ma. Next is the Na. So the Na is yet another one, right? All right. It looks like that when it's in between letters. That's not exactly right. And it looks like that when it's at the end of a letter. That's the Na. So, like I said before, it's difficult if you're not paying attention. You'll confuse it with other letters, right? Notice the Y. The Y looks similar to that, but the Y is you'll definitely confuse those two if you're not careful. But it looks different in printed text. So in printed text, the Na is longer than the Y, right? In printed text. But when you're writing it out, you just got to know. But you'll read it in printed text. Like I said, especially Edomite Slayer, I told you I was going to get you that. Once I send you the alphabet, look at, or the Lashawan Qadash, the printout, once I email you that, you'll be able to see the difference between the Na and the Wa, right? All right, so next is the Sa. Not to be confused with the Ma. Again, like I said, this Assyrian will definitely jam you up, but you got to learn it. You know what I mean? So that's the Sa. Not to be confused with the Ma. The Sa looks more like a circle. Hopefully you were able to distinguish that with my writing, right? This doesn't necessarily look like a circle. These two, when it's at the end of the word, you can confuse it, but the sa is more circular. This is more boxy. All right. Hopefully you can distinguish that between what I was trying to do. Right. So then next is the I. Right. That's the sound it makes. That's the I. It looks like a Y. Right. The next is the Pa. I made that too high because this is another letter. Remember, I said there's 5 letters. When it's at the end, it looks it looks different than if it's in between. So we got to go back, move that up a little bit. All right, that's the Pa. If it's in between 2 letters, this is the Pa if it's at the end. All right. Actually, that looks slightly different. All right. So that's what it looks like at the end. All right. So next is the Tazah, not to be confused with the I. Notice the subtle difference. All right. That's the Tazah. So when this is a letter, when it's at the end, it looks slightly different. All right, that's the Tazah. So now we got our 5 letters that look different when it's at the end. The Ka looks like this, and it has a longer tail, right? So that's not to be confused with the Ra. The Ra is shorter when it comes down. The Ka is longer. When you like looking at the printed text, you'll be able to distinguish that. All right. The next one is the Ma. So again, this hooks in when you're on the left side of the letter. It hooks in more. When it's at the end of the word, it's more boxy. The Na almost looks like a sigma in Greek, and then it's kind of like a lazy, I don't know, a lazy something, just like a lazy line. The Sa is circular with a little tail. Oh, Salakia. The Sa is not different when it's at the end. The Pa is different when it's at the end. It looks like almost an upside down G, and then it kind of looks like a upside down L, so to speak, with a little line going across. The Tazah almost looks like it does look like a backwards Y, right? So the tail hooks, but when it's at the end, it looks like that. So those are your 5 letters that look different when they're at the end of the word. All right, let's get the rest of them. Go ahead and finish this out. Then we're going to move on to some other keywords. So this is the Qua. Right? And then the Sha. And that's your ancient Hebrew and your Syrian Hebrew alphabets. All right? This is your ancient Abba, Gada, Ha, Wa, Za, Ka, Ta, Ya, Ka, La. Right? And here's your Syrian Abba, Gada, Ha, Wa, Za, Ka, Ta, Ya, Ka, La. And again. All right? This is your ancient Hebrew, the rest of the letters, because our board is not big enough, so I had to wrap it around. Ma, na, sa, I, pa, taza, kwa, ra, shata. In the Syrian. Ma, na, sa, I, pa, taza, kwa, ra, shata. All right. So, Edomite Slayer, I know I owe you a copy of that, and I'll do that immediately after class. If there's anybody else who's trying to learn Hebrew, get down with the school, you know, you want to start watching Hebrew classes on Friday, start learning to read and write ancient Hebrew and not, you know what I'm saying, the Yiddish that the Jewish man speaks, then you want to get a copy of the Lashawan Qadash, you know what I mean, which our school started, you know what I'm saying, 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, right? We brought this to the schools. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and erase this. All right, we got another question. In order to move up in rank, you have to know Hebrew. Uh, well, in order to be authorized to become an officer, right? You studying for your officer's test, you want to know how to read and write ancient Hebrew and Assyrian, right? As far as moving up beyond that, it's up to the man above you. You know what I mean? It's partially up to you. You putting in work, you serving the Lord, you know what I mean, doing your duties, going above and beyond. But it's always good to be, you know, good. Not everyone can be an expert in ancient Hebrew, but it's good to be proficient in it, if you know what I mean. So you want to be proficient in it enough to, if you're battling somebody, for instance, right? For instance, this white cat came up to me and he was trying to explain or trying to say that Christ spoke Yiddish or what did he say? He said Aramaic, right? So a lot of times what they say when they read in Aramaic, they think it's a different language, but it's actually ancient Hebrew. So anyway, it'll just help you sharpen your sword, be able to cut, you know, devils when they say stupid stuff. All right. You said the question is that scripture based also too? What do you mean? What do you mean by that? Is learning Hebrew scripture based? I mean, well, you want to look at it like this. Hebrew is the original language. Salaki, hold on one second. Get your stuff, buddy. All right, Shalom, buddy. Shalom, Daddy. All right, Shalom, buddy. All right, Salaki. So, what you want to do is look at it like you're taking hold of your oh, you saying the officer's test. On the test, is it scripture on there mixed with Hebrew? I can't give you what's on the test, right? I can't give you what's on the test. All I can say is you'll need to know how to read and write ancient Hebrew and Assyrian, right? So I can't give you what's going to be on there. But the scriptures say, you know, study to show thyself approved. That's why we offer this class. We offer this class not only for people who want to become an officer in the school, but for brothers and sisters who's just interested in keeping their custom, keeping their heritage, right? So we were given Hebrew as the first language, and Ibar, which means the past, he never let go of that language, and he passed it on to his, you know, his descendants. And Abraham spoke Hebrew, all the way down to Yahushua. You understand? He spoke Hebrew. All right. So with that, I think we're gonna move on unless there's any other questions about the alphabet. All right. So let's get into some common words. Okay. In a previous class, we did, you know, we went through the tribes, and we not only did we do the tribes, we did the 18 nations on the face of the earth, right? Because in the beginning, the Most High created 18 nations, right? And those 18 nations are on the earth today. They just have different names, right? You don't call, um, you don't call um, East Indians. You don't call them Elamites. They're known as East Indians, but according to the Bible, they would be Elam. You know what I'm saying? From the family of Elam. Same thing for the Chinese. You don't call them Moab. You call them Chinese, but they descend from Moab. You understand? Moabites. So all these nations, we did that, and one day we might circle back to that again. So you know what I'm saying? Anybody who's watching, really what you can do though, definitely if you want to learn the tribes and how to break the tribes down in Assyrian and in ancient Hebrew, what you could do if you want to learn the tribes is go to the website. And what you'll find on the website are these right here, each tribe. And so it'll give you the tribe name, it'll give you the standard, it'll give you the scriptures where you can find them, and then also how to write them in ancient Hebrew. So those are available on the website. You can get those anytime. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to get into some common words that are used. And you just want to take notes on this, and you want to start building your Hebrew vocabulary, so to speak. All right. So let's start off with open. So we're going to put in Assyrian. I did that wrong, so like it with my eraser. All right. So this would be a pa, a tha, and a ka. All right. So this word is open. All right. The word is open. Like I said, this is a verb. We're gonna start going. I'm gonna write it a little bigger since it's a lot, because I naturally write small. So let me write it a little bigger. All right. So this is obviously this is the Assyrian right here. Assyrian. Now we're gonna put it in ancient. Right. So again, this is a letter you want to add, or a word you want to add to your book or to your notes. So as you start growing and learning how to write other Hebrew words, you say, "Oh, I know how to say open." All right. So let's put it in ancient Hebrew. All right. This is a pa. This is a tha. This is a ka. All right. So this is the Assyrian. This is the ancient. All right, so how would you say that? You got a question, how to pronounce that? We coming to that. So if you were writing it out, all right, so in ancient Hebrew, you have connectors, right? And so if I'm not mistaken, we're going to try to write that out. So it'd be padak. All right, so this word would stand alone. That upside down connector that I just put under it means it's not connected. But these two would be connected, right? So in Assyrian, there is no connectors. But in ancient, you use connectors so you know how to pronounce a word, right? So, and generally, I say generally because a lot of the time, the last words, the last letters will be connected. Not all the time, but majority of the time, those last two letters, they'll connect. All right. So this word, the first letters would be pa, right? Just like we got here, pa, and then the tha. And when you connect, you can drop the last letters, right? So instead of saying pataka, you say patak. Patak. That's the ka. You just don't have the two A's on the end. Patak. So it's something obviously with practice and a little research, you find out how to connect the words and how to pronounce the words. It just takes a little bit of time. And sometimes you'll think that you have the rule down, but there are variations to the word. But this would be patak, right? Pa, then ka, but you're not saying the two A's. Patak. That's how you say open. So make sure you write that down. You got the pa, the tha, and the ka. Patak. Open. Actually, this would be a good time to see if we can get the Blue Letter Bible up, and then this might be a word that we can find too. So let's do that. All right. So go to, like I said, you should have had your Blue Letter Bible downloaded by now. And I don't have screen sharing, so I'll have to just kind of talk you through it. Okay, so open up your Blue Letter Bible. Now mine's gonna look slightly different from yours. I'll get the camera a second to focus. Look like it focused pretty quick. I have the King James Version on one side, and I have WLC on the other side. Notice I have the English on one side and Hebrew on the other side. Okay. Now I know your question is going to be, how did you get that? What you want to do is, you see where it says Genesis at the top? So let it focus again. It says Genesis at the top. Okay, click Genesis. Okay, then it'll take you to a screen. It has this Old Testament. Hold on, let it focus. Old Testament and New Testament. Click where it says Bibles. All right. So after you click where it says Bibles, and let me know if I'm going too fast. Facebook, I can't see you right now because I got YouTube up on the screen and I have Facebook on my phone. So bear with me. I'll come back if anybody needs to follow. So now you should be on this screen. It says parallel and primary, right? For my primary, I have King James. Right, so you can hit primary and it says King James. I got it highlighted. Now I'm gonna click parallel. So I got parallel. Right, you click parallel, and I have that WLC MGNT. If you want to get that, you have to click books right there, and then you want to download it. And that's basically all you do to get it. And actually, if you don't have it, now that I think about it, if you don't have it, you go down here. Let it focus, and it says Manage Bibles. You want to go down there and click Manage Bibles, and you may have to download it. And then once you get it downloaded, you can have as your primary, you can have the King James Version, and as your parallel, you can have the WLC MGNT. But you just have to go to Manage Bibles and get it downloaded. All right, I'll give you a few minutes to get caught up. Edomite Slayer, let me know if you get that downloaded, if you got it, if you don't got it, if you need me to show it to you again, let me know what's up so we can move on. I'll give you another minute or so. Okay, you got it. Most High in Christ. Okay, so now that you got it, let's actually use it. I got my blue letter Bible back up. Okay, so you could just go put it on Genesis 1:1. All right, and then you want to click the little magnifying glass, right? Let's look up the word open. All right, and it says it's open in Genesis 1:20. All right, so when you click that little blue, it's going to say, when you click the little blue, let me click it, it's going to say read it in Bible view. So that's what you want to do. You want to read it in Bible view. Okay, so now we at Genesis 1:20. See, Genesis 1:20. Let me let the camera focus. Genesis 1:20 is at the top. So you got English on one side, and you got Hebrew on the other side. Click where the 20 is on the English. Click where the 20 is. Okay, once you click where the 20 is, it's going to come to this screen. Click that first one. It says interlinear concordance. All right. And so now we get into the good part. The interlinear concordance gives you all the information about the words that you just read. So then you can scroll down to where it says open. As soon as I find it. All right, so that's probably not the one we want because it says in the open. I'm gonna find another one that just says open. All right, I found exactly what we need. Go to Exodus 21 and 33. All right, so you were given this word, right? You were given this word, and um, we broke it down. We went to the Assyrian because when you read it, that's where you'll find it. We converted it over to ancient, so you can, uh, see how to read it, and you were given the pronunciation, patak, right? So say you were not given this word, what you want to say, man, how do you say open in Hebrew? Well, do what I did. You search it, right? And sometimes you have to, in Hebrew, there's not a lot of joining words. Like there's not like go to the store, right? It's like go store. It would be something like that. Maybe that's not the best example, but there's not a lot of connecting words in it. So when you're looking up words in Hebrew, sometimes there's other things. It's not like the root word. It's easy to look. Um, it's easy to look. Salaki. It's not necessarily that easy to find the root word, but sometimes you got to do a little searching. So, like I said, I found exactly what we was looking for. Go to Exodus 21 and 33. So I'm gonna back out, so I can do it with you. But basically, you type in open, right? So I looked at open in Genesis 1 and 20. I looked at Genesis 38 and 14, but those were all slight variations of open. And I was looking for something that plainly said open. So Exodus 21 and 33. So you can click it, and then it's going to say how you want to read it. You read it in the Bible view, right? So once you get there, it's going to have 33 at the top. Click the number 33 in the corner. You can scroll down, like pull it down a little bit so you don't, have some more space. All right. So when you hit 33, you go to the interlinear. Oh, let me let it focus. Focus. There you go. Interlinear concordance. Right? And it says shall open. And look what it says, shall open. What is that? What are those letters? Those are the same letters we just put on the word, on the board. And also you can see is actually exactly the same as we put on the board, patak, which is not always the case. You got the pa, the ta, and the ka, patak, right? Goes even further. You can click on patak, and it drills down even more. What does it say? To open, and it gives you all the variations. That's why I said I don't like the Mekam Mamre, um, but because it's a little bit more difficult. I like the Blue Letter Bible. So anyway, that's a good way where you can kind of dig down into words. So like I said, here you were given a word. This is Gabrielle Pierce. You trying to be funny? Or you being serious? I know my nails ain't done, so you probably trying to be funny. All right. Anyway, um, that's how you say open. And if you were not given the word, right, you could you could look it up. So that's how you say open. And it says when you look it up, it says to open, to be loose, to be thrown open, to free, to loosen, to open oneself, to carve, to engrave. So there's several meanings, right? That's the thing about Hebrew. You get multiple meanings for words, right? So it's not like a lot of like English. You got words for everything, right? And it's confusing language. Where Hebrew, it just depends on the context of what you're saying. So that's why you get words with multiple meanings. All right. So let's go. Let's get another word. Actually, I said we were going to look up the word brother. One thing that you see on Facebook, if you know you in the Hebrew Israelite community, you get a lot of friend requests. If you're in the UPK, a lot of people say they hate us, but they steady requesting us, which I don't understand. I ain't requesting nobody that I hate or don't have any respect for. So anyway, that's ass backwards. So a lot of times you'll see Aki. You ever seen that? And I think they spell it like this, if I'm not mistaken. They say, when I see it, Aki, I believe. I'm not 100%. I had to look on Facebook, but AHCHOTI, I think is what I see on Facebook. Now, where they get that from? No, I think it's like this. ACH. I'm not mistaken. ACHOTI. If I'm not mistaken, that's what I see. Now we're gonna look up brother. So do that with your blue letter Bible. Look up the word brother, and then we're gonna see how you spell brother. So like, give me 1 second. All right, I'm back. Go to Blue Letter Bible. Go in your little search, little magnifying glass, and type in brother. Okay, so for me, Genesis 4:2 comes up. Edomite Slayer, you said I can't really do that. It freezes YouTube and it won't be on live. I don't know what you mean. You have a problem looking up the word? Let me know. Like, punch in what you're trying to say. I don't know what you meant. You said I can't really do that. It freezes YouTube and it won't be on live. You mean when you try to look up a word? Let me know if that's happening when you're trying to look up a word. Oh, I see. Got you. Okay. No sweat. Well, I'm going to look it up. I'm going to look it up for you. Or if you have a laptop that you can kind of use at the same time, I pay for that little extra YouTube, so mine don't cut out. But I understand what you mean. I guess that's one Android got up on us. Anyway, so you in your blue letter Bible. Focus. Maybe you in your blue letter Bible, and you look up brother. So Genesis 4:2, and then you click it, and you read it in Bible View. And again, you go to the interlinear concordance. All right, so when I look it up, this is what I find. I don't see Aki. This is what I see. I never get that Assyrian I right. All right. When I look up brother, that's what I see. I see a I and I see a ka. Right? So if you was to put that in ancient Hebrew, it would look like this. The I and the ka. Right? And so these would be connected because there's only 2 letters. Sometimes you get letters that stand alone by themselves, but these 2 are connected, right? So how would that look if you wrote it out in English? It would look like this. Ak. Now you see where we get Ak from. We don't say Aki, or Koi, or some other nonsense that I seen on Facebook. You see it all the time, right? But you see Ak. So that's how you say brother in ancient Hebrew. You say brother in ancient Hebrew because that's what you read when you look in the scriptures. You don't see that Aki. I don't know where they get that from. But again, that's why you can only trust, you know what I'm saying? You want to learn about the Bible, you come to the I.S.U.P.K. Don't go to nobody else. Even a lot of groups will say, we're not speaking ancient Hebrew. It's not the pure ancient Hebrew. Yo, that's nonsense. Like they think it's some mystical thing, right? That's gonna happen magically. No, you're gonna learn how to speak the language by studying it and by doing it. Right? The scriptures say the kingdom of heaven is within you. If we want the kingdom of heaven, then we got to do the things the Bible says to do. You don't wait for something magical to happen. That's like what Christ said, you know what I'm saying? You occupy till I come back. You know what I'm saying? You gave that parable. You ain't supposed to go and do what you want to do. You're supposed to do what's required of you. You're required to grab hold of your history, grab hold of your culture, grab hold of the Bible, and don't let it go. Right? So anyway, that's where it comes from. There ain't no Aki or none of that other nonsense that some of these fake groups be saying. So those basically two words that we went over. Let's get a couple more words, common words. Edomite Slayer, you good on that? Let me know. I know you the only one really, pretty engaged in the class, so I want to make sure you following along. Let me know if you good with that. I think we got one other person on Facebook. They're not really asking no questions, maybe just kind of watching. Okay, Most High in Christ, you good with that. So now, if any of those fake cats come to you and say Aki, you say nah. You go look up. You could show them in a blue letter Bible yourself, or any concordance. You can pull up the Strong's concordance, and it'll show them the same thing. It ain't gonna say Aki. I know that for damn sure. So let's get another word. You can also use that application on your laptop too. You don't have to use it on your phone. I just have it on my phone because it's convenient. But you can also use that blue letter Bible on your laptop. So it's probably even more powerful on your laptop. It's just super convenient on your phone, especially like if you're in Sabbath service and reading Hebrew. All right, so let's try another word. Let's try gather. All right, the word is gather. So we're gonna write this one out in Assyrian. In Assyrian, we're gonna have that's not exactly right. Hold on one second. That's probably closer to it. No. All right. That's a quad. And then a ba. last letter is Tazah. All right. So let's put that in ancient Hebrew. Sequoia. And then the Tazah. So I actually think this one, and I have to verify this, but I actually think this one stand alone. Let's see. So it should be Kwabatazah, gather. Kwabatazah. All right, let me see if I can look up and just make sure that that's correct as far as the connectors. I'm gonna make it a little bigger. Let me just check something real quick. We're gonna make sure that that's connected properly. If you got any questions, go ahead and post it. Oh, you could, Edomite Slayer, you can contact me about that personally. All right. I'm just checking. All right. I feel pretty confident that the connectors are right on there, but that word is Kwabatazah for gather. All right. So those are a couple words. Those are a couple words that we was able to get. We'll work on more words, more common verbs. We talked about open, and this word here is together. So the first one was patak, kwabatazah, gather, right? Okay, so we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna go ahead and clip it right there. We're gonna do the prayers, the announcements, and the prayers. Any questions before I go ahead and move on to the announcements? All right, doesn't look like let's see. Yeah, it's confusing about the connected. Yeah, the connectors on there is it really just take time and practice, right? So even today, sometimes I get jammed up on how the word is connected. But just remember, when a word is connected, okay, let's look at it this way. Uh, say these two letters were connected. Say the ba and the taza were connected. How would that change the word? If these two were connected, it would probably be quab taza. Quab taza. You're gonna drop the letter. You're gonna drop the letter that's there. It's just like it was told to me. The only way that you can know is if you learn the words. It's kind of like in it's just really, if you think about it, it's the same thing in English. You have to learn the word. Like for instance, apple. You know that it doesn't say apple because you learned how to pronounce the word correctly, right? And it only came with you learning it and hearing it in repetition. Well, that's the same way we're going to learn Hebrew and learn how to connect the words. Instead of saying apple, you say apple, right? So this is going to take some practice. This is going to take, coming to Hebrew class and a lot of practice. So, oh yeah, you definitely going to get it. Don't sweat it. Like, any brother or sister that's, that want to take the time to learn Hebrew, it's going to take some time. It's just, like I said, it's like learning a new language. So we'll get into more. We rock it out on Fridays for sure. And if you want, next time, just bring some more questions. If you got a question about a particular word, let me know. And then we can do some research beforehand and then we can cover it. We can cover it in class. We're going to do these announcements. All right, this is the I.S.U.P.K security announcements. We are the I.S.U.P.K, started at 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York. Rule for new brother and sister. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to shed themselves of the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There's another 6 months in which the brother and sister will court each other. After this 6-month period, the brother and sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment. Numbers 18 and 21, Malachi 3, verses 8 through 10, means tenth in the Hebrew, ma'ashara. 10% of every penny of any increase the Most High gives you. Give to the treasury department or teacher. Priest fund. Free will offering for priests, not mandatory. Whatsoever amount you would like. Upcoming holy convocations. The closing feast. Salakia. The closing feast of tabernacles is going to be this Sunday before sundown, right? So you'll be closing out. You should be closing out with a feast. It's a holy convocation, so we should be coming together. That's the next. That's the next one, and then that'll close out like what Esau's calendar year, right? If anyone wants to be a trooper in the school, to start wearing all black boots, shirt, pants, headband, scarf. All right. And with that, we're going to close it out. Yahweh Bashem Yahshua Barakatham, Yahweh Shemalatah Bashem Yahshua. Shalom, Israel.